Africa, our ancestral home known for its beautiful land, beautiful culture, and beautiful people. After leaving Africa during the transatlantic slave trade, many Africans were spread throughout the diaspora. Many Africans ended up in the United States. After being forced to work on plantations, many African families were split up. As a result, they lost their languages, culture, family, and identity. In modern times, genetic ancestry testing has provided a way for Africans that were born in America the chance to connect with their culture. MedlinePlus.gov highlights that genetic ancestry testing or genetic genealogy is a way for people interested in family history to go beyond what they can learn from relatives or from historical documentation. Examination of DNA variations can provide clues about where a person's ancestors might have come from and about relationships between families. Certain patterns of genetic variation are often shared among people of particular backgrounds. The more closely related two individual families or populations are, the more patterns of variation they typically share. Three types of genetic ancestry testing are commonly used for genealogy: Y chromosome, mitochondrial DNA, and single nucleotide polymorphism testing. Variations in the Y chromosome passed exclusively from father to son can be used to explore ancestry in the direct male line. Y chromosome testing can only be done on males because females do not have a Y chromosome. However, women interested in this type of genetic testing sometimes recruit a male relative to have the test done. Because the Y chromosome is passed on in the same pattern as our family names in many cultures, Y chromosome testing is often used to investigate questions such as whether two families with the same surname are related. With mitochondrial DNA, this type of testing identifies genetic variations. Although most DNA is packaged in chromosomes within the cell nucleus, cell structures called mitochondria also have a small amount of their own DNA known as mitochondrial DNA. Both males and females have mitochondrial DNA, which is passed on from their mothers, so this type of testing can be used by either sex. It provides information about the direct female ancestral line. Mitochondrial DNA testing can be useful for genealogy because it preserves information about female ancestors that may be lost from the historical record because of the way surnames are often passed down. S&P tests evaluate large numbers of variations across a person's entire genome. The results are compared with those of others who have taken the tests to provide an estimate of a person's ethnic background. For example, the pattern of S&Ps might indicate that a person's ancestry is approximately 50% African, 25% European, 20% Asian, and 5% unknown. Genealogists use this type of test because Y chromosome and mitochondrial DNA test results, which represent only single ancestral lines, do not capture the overall ethnic background of an individual. Autosomal DNA tests are a way of looking at the code that exists inside all of your cells. They reveal a world of genetic information that can be used medically and to discover your ethnic makeup. Popular autosomal tests include 23andMe, Ancestry DNA, MyHeritage, Family Tree DNA, and Living DNA. Looking back at DNA, we see that it is a molecule that exists inside the cells of all living things. It contains all the information needed to create life. The strands of DNA in your cells are tightly wound up into structures called chromosomes. You get 23 chromosomes from each of your parents for a total of 46. Of those, 44 are called autosomes and the other two are sex chromosomes. Autosomal DNA contains most of the code that makes up who you are. DNA is a molecule in the shape of a double helix, which looks like a twisted ladder. The rungs of the ladder are made of smaller molecules called nucleotides. These nucleotides come in 4 different varieties in DNA: A, G, C, and T. Chunks of this ladder form genes, which can be read by special machines in your cells called enzymes, which turn them into proteins. You're mostly made of these proteins. Mutations or changes can appear or be created in these genes. For example, an A could get turned into a C. This change in the code creates a change in the protein. That, in turn, could affect how your body works. The particular order of the nucleotides in your genes is called your genotype, while the way these genes affect your body is called your phenotype. DNA testing results can include information on who your ancestors are and the amount of your DNA that come from particular ethnic groups or geographic regions. Genealogy tests focus on your ancestors and will combine your genetic information with other sources of data such as family trees. An ethnicity test will break down your chromosomes into sections to determine the approximate ethnicity of each portion of your DNA. If you want to find out what your roots are, your culture is, and where you come from, consider taking a DNA test.